Good evening. It is September 22nd, and welcome back to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Lauren Williamson. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey has proposed a comprehensive budget plan exceeding $2 billion to address pressing issues in the state. The primary focus is on resolving the emergency shelter crisis, with $250 million redirected from a state transitional escrow fund to aid homeless families in the fiscal year of 2024. This move comes as the state grapples with accommodating more than 6,400 families in shelters, which is 60% higher than when Healey took office. The cost of shelter services has soared, with monthly expenditures exceeding $45 million, well above budgeted $325 million for the fiscal year 2024. Quoting, "As you know, the demand for emergency shelter by families experiencing homelessness in Massachusetts continues to increase, in part as a result of migrant families arriving in Massachusetts and lack of federal action." Healey wrote this in a letter to lawmakers. "We are working with our federal partners to impress upon Washington, D.C. the need for relief and other solutions, including expediting the issuance of work permits." Additionally, Governor Healey is urging the federal government to expedite work authorizations for migrants and refugees residing in state emergency shelters, as the current lengthy process causes delays for legally present individuals. The governor is advocating for migrants eligible for work authorizations to avoid backlog delays after application. The budget plan is a comprehensive approach to address immediate crises while making provisions for long-term investments through strategic fund reallocation. Nevertheless, Governor Healey is working to facilitate migrants' swift entry into the workforce to address workforce shortages, particularly on Cape Cod, where issues have been exacerbated by various factors, including travel restrictions and housing shortages. The Haitian migration, driven by crises in Haiti, is a significant component of this initiative. The second annual Town of Barnstable 55+ Community Safety Day is scheduled for September 28, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Barnstable Adult Community Center in Hyannis. This event is organized by the Town of Barnstable, and the Barnstable Adult Community Center aims to provide older adults in the community, ages 55 and above, with essential safety resources. Attendees can expect a wide range of activities and information sessions designed to enhance their safety in various aspects of their life. These include fire safety demonstrations, free wellness checks, outdoor protection advice, guidance on identifying and reporting online and phone scams, and insights into the safety resources available in Barnstable. Over 30 professional and government agencies will participate, offering live demonstrations in their knowledge. The event also promises free refreshments and opportunities to learn about handling emergencies, severe weather events, and even explore the inside of an ambulance and EMS apparatus. For more information, those interested can contact the Barnstable Adult Community Center at 508-862-4750. The Massachusetts Broadband Institute is working with the Cape Cod Commission to expand internet access across the Cape. This comes after the federal government awarded the state $147 million to identify and address the areas and demographics affected by digital inequity. Broadband assessments such as speed tests and phone surveys are being conducted to investigate service quality, availability, and gaps in internet access. Once assessments are completed, the Broadband Institute and Barnstable County Commissioners will have a plan of action to resolve specific community needs, detailing solutions to improve broadband access, affordability, and digital literacy across Cape Cod. These results will be shared with the public in early 2024. The Broadband Institute will be holding a listening session on Thursday, September 28th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Barnstable Town Hall. to get direct feedback from locals about their experiences with internet access. For more information or to take the broadband survey, head to broadband.masstech.org. The Yarmouth Seaside Festival is a weekend-long event that has been taking place on Columbus Day weekend since 1978. The festival will once again take place at the Joshua Sears Memorial Field across the street from the Yarmouth Town Hall on October 7th and 8th. There will be a craft fair from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with over 100 arts and crafts vendors, as well as a wide variety of children's entertainment shows, live music, contests, wildlife shows, and games and rides on the field Saturday and Sunday. There will also be a lineup of special events throughout the weekend. Events such as a beach bonfire at Smuggler's Beach Saturday night from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., a road race beginning at 9 a.m. Sunday morning, fireworks display at Smuggler's Beach 8 p.m. Sunday night, sand sculpture contest and chalk fest at Smuggler's Beach 9 a.m. to noon on Monday, and finally, a canoe kayak race starting from Wilbur Park near High Bank Bridge at 10 a.m. also on Monday. This is a great community event that really wraps up the essence of summer as we head towards the fall and the seasons are changing. So don't miss out on all the fun. For more information, you can head to yarmouthseasidefestival.com. This summer, the Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries reported low oxygen levels in the Cape Cod Bay from Barnstable to Provincetown for the 5th consecutive summer season. While low oxygen levels known as hypoxia can affect all marine life, Cape lobstermen are experiencing the brunt of the consequences, with some reporting lobster deficits in the thousands of pounds. The Division of Marine Fisheries, the Massachusetts Lobstermen Association, and the Center for Coastal Studies have teamed up to provide local lobstermen with oxygen probes to collect data on these conditions and have been advised to avoid placing traps in areas of low oxygen. However, these areas move hundreds of feet every few days, and vary in severity, making it difficult to predict where safe locations will be. The Center for Coastal Studies and Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute have determined that these conditions are due to climate change. Studies have shown that the area known as the Gulf of Maine, stretching from Cape Cod to the southern tip of Nova Scotia, is the fastest warming body of water in the world. When water temperatures rise, the warmer, more oxygenated water remains on the surface, leaving deeper water stagnant and hypoxic. These warmer conditions also promote the growth of algae, which in excess consumes disproportionate amounts of oxygen, pushing out or killing other marine life. Along with fish and lobster, this also threatens the Cape's crab, oyster, and clam industry, with worsening conditions expected in the coming years. If you'd like to learn more about how climate change affects Cape Cod or how to get involved, please visit the Association to Preserve Cape Cod's website at apcc.org. Looking for something to do this weekend? Love Local Fest will take place Sunday, September 24th at Asselton Park in Hyannis. Celebrate the end of another great summer season with lawn games, food trucks, local vendors, and live music by Katie Flynn Band and Funktopus. Bring the kids and participate in some Cape Cod's Maritime Museum's unique activities like flag signaling, cartography, or map making. This event will take place 11 to 5, come rain or shine. If you can't make it, but you would still like to show your support, you can shop the local vendors' booths online at lovelivelocal.com until the end of October. Coming up after the break, history repeats itself at Chatham's special town meeting. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. A great day at the Gateway. At Cape Cod Gateway Airport, there's going to be an exciting event with a focus on celebrating aviation and honoring the military. It will take place on Saturday, September 23rd from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The event will feature a wide range of activities, including skydiving demonstrations, displays of military and civilian aircraft, flight simulators, face painting, girls in aviation programs, an aviation kids theater, live music, food trucks, and more family-friendly activities. Children aged 8 to 17 can enjoy free flights through the Young Eagles program if they pre-register. Captain Rob Potter, the 21st Commanding Officer of the U.S. Coast Guard Air Station Cape Cod, will be a special guest speaker. There will be live music performances by the Company Bees and Column Seal Pipes and Drums. For additional information about the event, you can visit the official website at flyhya.com. This past Monday, Chatham residents gathered once again to decide the fate of a proposed new Center for Active Living facility at the special town meeting held on September 18th. Article 5, which called for the appropriation of $11 million to build the facility at 1610 Main Street, failed to garner the support it needed, falling short of the required two-thirds majority threshold by just over 100 votes. The proposal had originally been brought before the town in the 2021 annual town meeting, when the land was proposed for the facility, generously donated by resident Bill Marsh. But it had faced a similar fate, missing the two-thirds majority threshold. This past May, the proposal was brought to the Chatham annual town meeting for the second time, and again, the proposal failed, missing the two-thirds requirement by just one vote. Now, for the third time, Chatham residents weighed in on the contentious issue, with Article 5 taking center stage at the special town meeting. Residents voiced their opinions both for and against the construction of the new Center for Active Living.
If you're undecided, I hope you might be willing to take a recommendation from the folks whose responsibility it has been to design and present this initiative. The architect, who has designed 25 or more of these facilities, and the owner's project manager, who has supervised more than 60 such town projects. The unanimous COA board, the unanimous Friends of COA board, the unanimous planning board, unanimous select board. And oh yes, don't forget that our local newspaper, the Chronicle, unequivocally endorsed this project again. If you're opposed, I congratulate you for your persistence and determined opposition. You never did quit. And you pursued it in the best tradition of the former First Lady, Nancy Reagan. If you're a supporter, thank you also for your dedication and your belief in the project, and especially for your trust and confidence in your fellow proponents. One last thought. This effort has brought me together with 20 or 25 Chatham seniors whose connection to the COA vary from very strong and close to remote and very tenuous. As is often said about a joke that falls flat, I suppose you had to be there to get it. But perhaps you'll accept my word that this group proved what we have been saying about the value and the promise of a new Center for Active Living. We old folks, and we are old, are energized and thrive when we have an activity and a goal, and especially when we have a group to work with. I feel confident in saying we bonded in a way that made us happier and healthier, and definitely improved our outlook on life. And I also want to say, as a matter of fact, I hope the opponents can say the same thing for your effort. One way or the other, let's get this thing done. And don't anybody leave until we adjourn. It ain't over till it's over. Thank you very much.
What we need in Chatham, more than anything else, are homes for young families which they can afford. The first home I purchased was for $36,500. I was a carpenter, but with family help and the assistance of a local bank, I was able to purchase that modest home, raise a family, and send my children to the local schools. I suspect that many other seniors in this room had those same opportunities when they first purchased a home. We have in Chatham something called the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And my recommendation to you tonight is that before we commit $11 million to a particular project, we do so only when we put some significant funds into the Affordable Trust Fund. If we are all willing to spend $11 million, we are certainly willing, or should be, to spend 7, 8, whatever the number is, to provide a perfectly adequate senior citizen center, and at the same time, give a real shot in the arm to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The Finance Committee recently proposed some changes to the Board of the Trustees of the Trust Fund, and I compliment them on their recommendations, which are very, very astute. Now, many of you might say, well, we'll put the money into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund next year. And what I say is that we don't spend any money of this sort for a senior citizen center until we also put money into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We can't do that tonight because that article is not on the warrant.
Getting close, Mr. Farber.
Yes, sir. So I recommend a no vote tonight, but it's actually a not yet vote. The new senior citizen center will be funded, but at the same time, we will put this money into a good portion of the $11 million into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So it's not a no vote, although it is, but it's really not yet. And because more important than a senior center is providing a chance for young families to purchase a home in Chatham and raise their family. We can send a message to the other towns on Cape Cod tonight that Chatham is absolutely committed to providing housing for young families and their children and grandchildren. And we don't pay mere lip service to this. We put our money where our mouth is. Thank you very much.
The idea that citizens, a group of citizens who support a project, who have a dream, would organize together, contact their fellow citizens, lobby for that, put ads in the paper, call you up, talk to everyone. That's not a bad thing. That's called democracy. In my experience, the community center, the Marconi property, and so many other projects that came forward in this town and were supported by town meeting didn't originate from the town officials, as nice and good as they are. They were actually put together by people who had an idea, saw a need, and asked people to meet that need. The other thing that was brought up by people who are opposed to this is to throw in the housing issue and saying, well, we're spending $10 million on a senior center, maybe we should spend it on housing. My experience in many venues is right now, money is not the obstacle that we're faced with housing. What we're faced with is the availability of property. That's why we don't have the housing, because we don't have a place to put it. If we have a place to put it, there are multiple funding sources that we can tap into, not just from the town, but from the county and also from the state. So don't be put aside by saying, oh, well, we can't do this, we have to do something else. We can do both.
The meeting ultimately resulted in a preliminary vote count of 690 in favor and 491 against the proposal. However, after the meeting adjourned, it was discovered that there had been a discrepancy in the vote counts due to the hand counting. Upon further examination, it was revealed that the actual final votes totaled 1,375, with 811 residents voting in favor of the CFAL facility, while only 564 voted against it. Despite this adjustment, the proposal still fell short of the 2/3 majority threshold needed for approval, missing it by just over 100 votes.
It was indeed the largest turnout. I think we had 1,395 voters. The previous high was 1,200 for the regional vote 13 years ago. I'm very pleased to hear you say that we will, I think, be purchasing more electronic devices. We had originally purchased 800. We purchased an additional, not we, I don't have the money, you have the money. An additional 200 were purchased for this meeting, anticipating that 1,000 might be enough, but as security, we rented an additional 100. It wasn't enough. And that is both the reason for some of the difficulties we had last night, but also a tremendous tribute to the voters of the town of Chatham. And every vote was counted. Unfortunately, as Corey said, I wasn't given the information as to some of the numbers coming in. The original vote as announced was 690 to 491, which is not 2/3. The final vote, which is in the town clerk's records, was 811 to 564, which is still not 2/3.
The proposed CFAL facility at 1610 Main Street had sparked hopes for a new hub for active living and community engagement among Chatham residents. However, the repeated rejections indicate that there remains significant division within the community regarding the project's feasibility and impacts. Coming up after the break, tensions rise over a commissioner's reappointment. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. A dedicated member of the Yarmouth Recreation Commission for over 3 decades faced a passionate debate during a recent Town Board of Select meeting. Debbie Clark, whose long-standing term on the Yarmouth Recreation Commission recently came to an end. She found herself in an unexpected position when she was nominated as an alternate member. Expressing her discontent with the nomination, Debbie openly voiced her strong desire to continue serving as a regular member.
I did notice in the agenda that I'm up for an alternate. No, I don't want that. That's a slap in my face after 30 years of being on this board and doing what I have done. And I really would like to thank the people who stood behind me on this with letters and showing up to speak on my behalf.
Michael Stone, a chairman of the Board of Selectmen, expressed confusion over not reappointing Clark as a full-time member despite overwhelming community support.
Frankly, I'm a little bit in the dark as to why she's not being reappointed as a full-time member. I mean, the number of people and the status of the people in the community that have come in here and endorsed her appointment was overwhelming. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So I'm a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but a little bit unsettled about the way this appointment's being handled and the way all these really upstanding, high-achieving, highly respectable members of the community, their recommendations are being kind of just cast aside. I will vote for her for a full-time position, but I will not vote for her for an alternate position because she says she doesn't want to do it. Why would we nominate her to a position that she's not interested in serving?
The debate continued as board members discussed the possibility of implementing term limits for board positions. Dorcas McGurran, member of the Select Board, noted that there had been talk about this issue for years.
No offense to Debbie, and Debbie has done a great job on the commission, and she has been on it for over 30 years. In fact, I think at this point, over 33 years. My concern comes from, and this came up actually about 20 years ago, there was talk then, and we haven't really put a fine line as to, should there be term limits on positions? Is 30 years? Should we really be looking at even like 25? People have said to me, well, that's an awful long time to be on one board. Aren't there other things that she could do? And why don't we have term limits on board positions? I've heard this, that perhaps setting it at 25 years for a board position, because it shouldn't be, no position should really be, quote, a lifetime position, is what I've heard.
How many people in the town of Yarmouth, other than Debbie Clark, have served for 30 years on a board, or served for more than 25 years on a board?
None.
I don't think, I think the opposite's the case. I think it's hard to get people to stay on boards. We have more resignations tonight than we have appointments. If we want to look at policies, I think one of the first things we have to look at and say, how many members do we have in the town actively that have 25 years of service? I'll bet you there's very, very few. And similarly, 30 years? It's unheard of. I'll bet you there's nobody else that in this whole town that's served on a board for 30 years.
I would agree with you.
So we don't want to have a policy that just affects one person, because that's, you kind of hold yourself out there as targeting an individual as opposed to having a universal policy that's going to have some broad applicability. So that's my concern.
When somebody serves on a board for an extended period of time, there can be an overly inflated sense of ownership and control. I've heard some comments along those lines. So that concerns me a little bit. However, on the other side, if we don't have people that are ready, willing, and able to jump in, I'm a little reluctant to take this kind of vote tonight.
I just look at the record, right? As Mike had indicated earlier, we've had testimonial after testimonial after testimonial in support of the applicant's qualifications and dedications to serve. And then on the other side, there's been nothing negative or anything on the record to indicate that there might be an issue or a problem. I hear about the only factor that comes into play regarding on the negative side would be tenure, but I would agree with the chairman that I think if we're going to adopt a policy, it needs to be across the board. We just can't single out a particular seat on a particular committee or perceive it. That needs to be a uniform policy based on some real deliberation and review and discussion. And quite frankly, I'm not entirely convinced, particularly in this day and age where it's a real challenge to sustain dedicated volunteers and committees. There needs to be a compelling reason for term limits at the local level. I mean, I'm all in favor of term limits for Supreme Court justices and members of Congress and presidents and a host of other people, but in local government, I have often found that the folks that have served the longest tend to, have an enormous amount of institutional knowledge that can be helpful. And then if there's, as we've discussed, if there's a need to make a transition because we got new blood that's anxious to get in to serve, then I think those become factors as part of the consideration. But again, I just have to go with what's on the record. When we look at the administrative record, what's in front of us. And all of, there have been a significant number of endorsements, but from people who have served the town well. And so I'm struggling with why Debbie wouldn't be reappointed. So that's where I'm coming from.
After some more discussion, the board decided to compromise and reappoint Debbie Clark for a 2-year term scheduled to run through July 2025 and a commitment to revisit the issue in the future.
So I'm going to move to appoint Debbie Clark for a period of 2 years. I don't know the exact dates of the appointment.
It would be to go through July of 2025.
July of 2025. I'm making that motion. You're seconding it, Mark? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
So that passes by a vote of 3 in favor, 1 against, and 1 absent.
Thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story that you would like to see covered, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org. We at Cape Media News regret to inform you that there will not be a news episode next week. However, we want to assure you that we'll be back with the latest hyperlocal news that matters very soon on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. In the meantime, be sure to follow us on all of our major social medias, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, to stay up to date. For Cape Media News, as always, I'm Lauren Williamson.